Slavery has been a universal institution for thousands of years, as far back as you can trace human history. And what we're looking at is if slavery is something that happened to one race of people in one country, when in fact the spread of it was around the world. In 1776, which is when Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations, as well as when the United States got started, he said that Western Europe is the only place in the world where there is no slavery. And even the Western Europeans had vast numbers of slaves in the Western Hemisphere,
yes,
but not in Western Europe itself. And so if you're going to have reparations for slavery, it's going to be the greatest transfer of wealth back and forth, because the number of whites, for example, who were enslaved in North Africa by the Barbary pirates exceeded the number of Africans enslaved in the United States and in the American colonies before that put together. But nobody is going to North Africa to ask for reparations, because nobody is going to be fool enough to give it to them.
What I said in my video was that black people created slavery. They started slavery. I was talking about in the US, not the entire world. That is because of Anthony Johnson, who back in the 1620s was a servant, not a slave, a servant. So eventually, when he was done with his servitude, he was given his freedom. And this man accumulated so much money. He was making so much money that he ended up purchasing a bunch of land. Now, he accumulated over 200 acres of land over that time, and he also accumulated about 15 to 16 slaves, 6 or 7 of them being African American and the rest being white. Or, I'm sorry, servants, not slaves. Now, things went awry a few years later, around 1653, I think, one of those, where one of his servants, last name of Kaser or Kasser, left because he claimed that his servitude was up and expired, so he left to go work for a different owner. Anthony Johnson then brought it to court and sued that family to have Kasser be returned to him. After a couple of years through the Virginia court system, they actually went in Johnson's favor and brought Kasser back to Anthony Johnson, claiming him as a slave for life, thus creating slavery, legal slavery, not servitude, legal slavery here in America.
We about to fact check this shit. First, if you mess with me, make sure that follow button. Happy Women's History Month and happy Ramadan. Let's get it. What the hell is she talking about? First, a black man did not own the first slave in America. I mean, America was founded in 1776, while Anthony Johnson died in 1670, almost 100 years before America was founded. Meaning that Anthony Johnson was a slaveholder during the 13 colonies when Great Britain owned it. And Anthony Johnson wasn't even the first slave owner in the 13 colonies anyway. The first one was Hugh Gwynn, who legally owned John Punch. In 1640, John Punch was sentenced to life as a slave for trying to escape. And by 1640, indentured servitude was turning into slavery. Places like Massachusetts and Virginia was legalizing slavery and enacting slave codes. And all of that was done by white people. There's even an argument that Anthony Johnson was a slave himself. Anthony Johnson was kidnapped from Angola and was forced into an indentured servitude contract. Anthony Johnson did not own 15 slaves, he owned 6. All of them but one were white.
Yo, so we back in here for another edition of F-ya-Motha, and sometimes I feel like the Mayo people just like to say shit, and don't get it fucked up. The Mayo people it's not just white people. It's white people that are racist, just like to say shit because it sounds hot. Now, just over a quick once over of this shit, I haven't gone into deep research because of the obvious reasons. If you don't know what the obvious reasons are, go read a book. But it says Anthony Johnson was a free black man from Angola who achieved wealth in the early 17th century colony of Virginia. He held as an indentured servant in 1621. He earned his freedom after several years and was granted land by the colony. Now, I'm assuming that was before white people became despicable and started enslaving niggas. I still don't even really believe how they're telling us how slavery went about actually started off like that. You know what I'm saying? I think the people that were here that were a black hue, they was cool with. And then they start bringing African niggas over here. And then somebody got the bright idea to enslave these niggas because they didn't like them based off of how they looked. And went with the notion that they were subhuman and less than human. So we should enslave these motherfuckers. I think that's how it went about, because that's the only plausible explanation that makes as to how this man was able to, one, not be a slave in 1621, and two, was able to get his out of indentured servitude, right, in the 1600s. That right there in itself is miraculous, to say the least. But yeah, while he did own slaves, he wasn't the first person to own slaves. Matter of fact, he was a slave himself. And I think whoever the fuck put this Wikipedia page up was trying to give it the softball version of it, because every other source that I cited, he wasn't in indentured servitude. He was actually kidnapped from Angola. So, and was made property in Virginia. So the fact that they tried to, like, whoever wrote this shit tried to softball it right there lets you know that people just Mayo people just love babbling and love lying, right? And not only that, it's public record and public knowledge that slavery had been instituted in the 1600s, right after the colonists got here. Like, they didn't take a break. There wasn't like we gonna be cool with these niggas. No, they warred with the indigenous people, or as y'all like to call them, Native Americans, and then they peeled their cat back, took their land, raped their women, and did other mischievous savagery to the people. So, like, this whole notion that black people, plus on top of all that, that's ludicrous. Now, she could say within the world that black people started slavery. I'll give her credence to that, because the earliest people in the world are black. Not necessarily Africans. Black people are all on every corner of the planet. They just to white people, they're different because they got different cultures, but black is black. Just like there's a nigga that's in Guatemala that's my complexion or darker, there's a nigga in Iceland that's my complexion or darker, and there's a nigga in South America that's my complexion or darker. Hell, there's Middle Easterns that's my complexion or darker. Even Indians, that's nothing more than a black person with a different culture and another language. So I find it ironic when white people be like, oh, black people, yeah, they're particular. Even Arabs, them fair-skinned motherfuckers that you see now weren't always the Arabs that actually were passing on Islam and warring with the Crusaders and, like, practicing warring with Islam, practicing Islam. Like, those fair-skinned people are later. I have reason to believe they probably, like, are a mixed race of people of European and Arabic, or Arabs. I don't believe that those people, like, this off of what history teaches me, I don't believe that those are the original Arabs, right? They're too fair skinned. It just has all the makings of a combined racial group, right? And Europeans did get around, so then there's that. I mean, hell, Europeans are actually mentioned in the story The Prince of Arabia. So, like, I don't put it past that they interbreeded with Europeans, and that's how you get the pale-skinned Arab. But, like, if we want to say black people started slavery, probably worldwide, earlier Muslims, possibly, I'll give you that. I don't buy into the whole theory of people from Egypt were slave traders. Like, that's ludicrous, because there's no confirmation in any Egyptian writing, whether the Book of Mayat, the Book of the Dead. There's no mention of race, mention of enslavement. They didn't need slaves. The Nile ran down Africa from the top to the bottom. They had fertile crescent land. They were good harvesters. They didn't live in barbaric temperatures. They were skilled mathematicians, scientists, and even doctors. They didn't need fucking peasants to do the hard labor for them. So then there's that. But as it pertains to what this woman is saying about black people, like, invented slavery or started slavery, like, in America, that's public record. They've actually, the earlier white people have actually touted themselves for instituting colonial antebellum slavery. Like, it's well documented, either by the likes of people like Albert Pike, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. Who else owned some slaves? Yeah, I'm drawing a blank here. But yeah, I want to say Robert Lee. He probably owned some slaves. But yeah, there's this documentation of white men instituting colonial slavery in America. So I don't know what the fuck this woman's talking about. People just get like, that's the thing. People, in my opinion, just get on TikTok and just start saying hot shit because it sounds sweet. And they've never read a book. They don't read books. She's not even going. She probably didn't even research that shit. She probably had, while she was in a circle jerk with her friends, somebody probably said that shit. They said it eloquently and she believed it. And went straight to TikTok to make that bullshit video of whatever was said that she remembered. It probably wasn't even said like that. It probably was said a little bit more complicated, and she oversimplified it because her small brain couldn't really remember exactly what was being said. Or the fact that a lot of Mayo people listen to Thomas Sowell, and he out here just jigging, doing a jig for white people to get money. He uses their talking points to get bread from them. They believe him. He just a nigga on the hustle. Before I started talking, that nigga said that black people started slavery, which is erroneous and further from the truth. But like I said, he on a mission to try to get that chicken, so he gonna say whatever sound hot. Like niggas that be jigging, I don't too much be mad because I know the hustle. I know they be out here saying stuff that white people want to hear. They be trying to sound sweet so they can get that bread, just so they can have white people say, hey, see, dude, he says the same thing. They hustling them. That's called a hustle, my nigga, a con. You know what I'm saying? They pulling a ruse on your ass, and he getting that chicken by making you believe shit that is factually not true. Look it, for all white people or even racists, pay attention. Niggas have been hustling white people for centuries. We will say some slick shit that you want to go back to tell your friends, knowing damn well it's not true, just so we can get money off your ass. Now, me personally, I have too much integrity and ethics, and I don't lie. So I'm not gonna make up some shit that ain't true. But I can't speak for other niggas. There are black folks that will go out there and hustle your ass with right-wing conservative talking points, racist talking points, knowing your gullible ass gonna believe it just so they can get that chicken. Once again, I've never been the type of nigga to do that, and I ain't gonna knock a nigga hustle. But let's just say we real no real, right? And he out here hustling, trying to get that chicken. And any of it, if y'all like this episode, you know what to do, and I'm is out.